Hello and welcome to the Faith Building Podcast, episode 50. Yes, 50. Woo! Cheer, cheer, cheer. Joy to the world. With your amazing and lovely hosts, Vladi, Kuna.
And Norman Gräter. Hi, guys.
Hello, and as you can see, at least if you watch the YouTube version, and you should this time because we dressed up all night. Vladi is in beautiful red. I'm in my tuxedo. I chose the black shirt and not the white shirt. Why? I don't know. I thought the black shirt can be worn again, and I usually wear the white shirt. So maybe episode 100, I will wear the white shirt with it. Today's episode is very special because we did not choose a topic. To be quite honest, we want to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk a little bit about the podcast, how it came along, what we learned in 50 episodes. I just checked. We started December 27th. 2024 to upload the first 0 episode. So it's almost a year now since we have it, and we do it every week. I think we missed 1 or 2 weeks because I was on vacation and gone and Vladi was busy and but this happens. Don't be too strict on yourself. And I just scrolled through my phone while Vladi and I talked what we should talk about, and as always, we don't know. We let inspiration hit us. I found the first picture when Vladi and I met in person, and if you're on YouTube, you probably can see that. It was in Canada on October 22nd. So very interesting. The first time we met, and I think back then we already knew we want to do something together. But sometimes it takes a while. Like I said, December 2024. And we just want to encourage you, if you have ideas, if you have inspirations, if they hit you and you say, oh, there's something. Even though Vladi and I and our friend Jonah were in a mastermind twice a week, like for more than, I don't know, when did we start? Before
it's coming up 7 years, I think. Six years, definitely.
Wow.
Between 6 and 7.
You know, do you remember how often we said at the end of our mastermind we should have recorded that? That was pure gold. We could have asked for money to share that with people, and sometimes we recorded it for ourselves. And we said at one point we should do a podcast, and yeah, sometimes it takes a while. Vladi, 7 years of friendship, 1 year of podcast, and 3 years of knowing each other live and in person. I know it's a long time and a long time range. What in the last couple of years was your biggest learning? I want to kick it off with that, and I know there were many, but is there one thing that stands out where you say, oh, this quote or this idea or this something, this really changed so much in my life? And if yes, what is it?
You know what? I have to go back to responsibility. It was the idea that we're responsible for our thinking, our feeling, our personal growth, our decisions, and everything we do, and actually every result we experience in our life. I didn't like that realization because some things in our life we don't like. And to say I'm responsible for that is not always easy. But really, it's the biggest thing I've learned in terms of responsibility is that procrastination and delay are the killer of success. How many times are you talking about, I want to have a podcast, I want to share my story, I would love to write a book or maybe coach people or whatever it is in your life, like dream, your dream. But are you going to come to the end of your life, which you never know when it is, we just never know when the end comes, and say, I lived my life well. So in the last 2 years, I've taken crazy decisions, risk-taking, learn, and you know, lots of people say, oh, you know, on social media, you guys always shine. We don't always shine behind the backs. Like, guys, we're experiencing the life just like you. We make big decisions, big goals, fail, then get up, stand up, go again. But really, who is in your surrounding is the key. So I would say the best lesson, apart from the couple of points I've said, is actually your network is your net worth. So really start looking on this energy and people who are in your, it's the same way you look after money, the same way you look after health, the same way you look after everything. It's so important to see who is in my space, because when you have the right people, anything you hit, it's just a smudge. It's a little glitch. You have always people to reach out. My biggest growth in the personal development world, and I worked and studied with one of the best in the industry, and I'm super, super, super grateful for everything I've learned. But I always say to Norman and Jonah, it was one of the best things that happened to me, because it was us building, not just building a friendship and connection. We felt that connection into it. We knew we're meant to be together, because you just know. You meet person and you know the right people or not. So really, are you listening to your intuition? And it's so key, because if you have someone in your life, you know that if something happens, they're always there for you. You cannot have anything better in life. And I think that's the best lesson for me. What is yours, Norman?
There are so many. While I listened to you, I thought about when you said that the network is your net worth. I agree. I remember when Bob Proctor was teaching his masterclass, and the only reason why I wanted to be in, or let me start before, and I will pull in the teaching as well. As we share some more things about us, this matches quite well to kick it off. I had a goal, a dream in 2013, which led into 2014 to fill out the Porsche Arena in Stuttgart, Germany with 6,000 people to show them that everything can be possible. And this was my dream. I wanted to prove it's possible. So COVID came 2 weeks before the show, and you heard the story before. The show was cancelled and I fell in a hole. But at one point, about half a year later, I realized while watching one of Bob Proctor's online seminars that I had a new goal. And it was when he interviewed one of his mentees. His name is Phil Goldfine. He's a famous Hollywood and Broadway producer with Oscars and so many other awards, that I thought, my story could be made in a movie. So in the same lesson, Bob said, I have a new program. It's called the Bob Proctor Masterclass. And I thought, I don't need the masterclass. What else should he teach what he has not taught before? And he said the first one that signed up without knowing anything was Phil Goldfine. And I thought, I need this masterclass more than anything else. So I called the lady, or they called me, I don't really remember. And I thought, how much can it be? I think the most expensive program, I think the Matrix back then was around $15,000. And I thought, it's an online program, the masterclass. So maximum it could be 15, but way less because it's online and the Matrix was live. So we spoke, and at one point she said, masterclass is 25,000. And at this point, I lost everything. I lost all my money. My show was ruined. My job was gone to COVID. I had nothing. And she said, it's 25. And then she said, but we also have a smaller version, a smaller package. It's more affordable, but it's not those little tiny one-on-one sessions, not with Bob, but kind of group sessions, groups of 4, 5, 6 people that get thrown into a Zoom room, a separate Zoom room, and they just talk about what Bob just shared. And I thought, no. I want to be there to meet Phil, to pitch my movie idea. So I don't need the cheaper version. I want to have the full version. So I invested those 25K. And in the first meeting we came on, I was expecting that in that little tiny breakout room, I will meet Phil, because I asked them beforehand to put me in the same room. Everybody beautiful showed up, but no Phil. So I thought, I saw him, but maybe he left for the breakout room session. So maybe next time he will be there. Next session goes on, everybody there, but no Phil in the breakout room. So I got really frustrated. I thought, what is this? I invested 25 that I didn't have to meet this one person, and it did not come along. And at one moment, Bob said, and this is where I wanted to point at, he said, the real worth of this masterclass is not what I teach you. It's the connections you make in the breakout rooms. And I remember I was so furious because I did not make this one connection I was aiming at. And it was kind of like in real life sometimes. You aim for something, you have this desperate desire, you basically energetically push it away because you're so full of lack. Because I need it, I want it. That's lack mentality, and you get more lack back. Now I know that. I should have been happy. And I thought, what do you mean? The 4 or 5 other guys I talked to for the second hour of the masterclass, this is the real value? I don't think so. But there was a lovely lady also from the UK, Polly Bateman, and we connected like Vladi and I learned so much in the one-on-one talks with Polly, because we started talking also once a week. There were so many aha moments that I really have to agree, your network is your net worth. And this brings me also to my biggest learning. You can connect the dots only from the back. The masterclass had to happen. Meeting Phil on this online class had to happen. Going to further programs by Peggy McCall because she did something together with Phil, meeting Vladi at those events. You know, if you look back, it all makes sense, it all connects. But if you want to look ahead, it's like you have a big wall of fog that's maybe a meter away from you, and you say, I only see fog, I see not through. I would love to see my bright future, but I only see fog. Yeah, sometimes that's needed. So can you have faith? And that's how the name Faith Building Podcast was created. Can you have faith that everything will be good at the end? If you look backwards, because life is being lived forward but understood backwards. And this basically was my biggest learning of them all.
I love that, Norman. And as you were talking, it reminded me that actually where we first time met and started studying together after a while was when I had a big dream like Norman, and I wanted to remove myself from corporate world. I was in a legal financial background, working with offshore as a legal officer and compliance. It was very, very great, very grateful, made a very good career, very fast, learned really a lot. But you know, sometimes just have these amazing achievements and you feel empty on inside, feeling, you know, is this it? Is this like I'm making a lot of money for corporations, but where's the legacy? Where is me? And what I really lacked was the time freedom because, you know, financial freedom is great, but no time. So this is where we really build into what are those moments. And I love the connecting dots because that was spot on what Norman said. Look back and it all makes sense. It's like I had to go to the master class because I really wanted to meet Bob in person. And I was actually taking a different route. I was rerouting through meeting Peggy and deciding joining Bob's program where he said you need to set a goal, a C goal, something you don't believe you can achieve, but it's scary and exciting at the same time. And I thought I always wanted to write a book for my grandchildren. But I mean, you know, English is not my first language. I'm not a good writer. I can't write a book. Who am I to write a book? My book will never sell. All these paradigms. I made a decision, met Peggy, and Peggy with Phil, that Norman just mentioned, were throwing Masters Manifesting. There it is. I'm like, camera off, because no way I liked speaking. Being live off camera, now I'm like, yep. Thanks to Norman as well, getting better with speech and stuff. But you know, it's something that I was like, oh, I just like being in the background. I remember telling everyone, oh, I want to be at the backstage. I don't want to be at the front. I don't want to speak to people. I'm just somewhere hiding in a corner. And there it is. I get pulled on a hot seat, freaking out completely, looking for my mouse to shut down. And even, do you know what was the thought? I thought if I leave the Zoom room, I will tell them my internet just dropped. But it was too late. I had all these crazy thoughts going at I could feel the sweat going. Oh my God. Like there were so many people. There were like 1,000 people in the Zoom room. And the last thing I needed to be pulled on a spot where they open your camera and now they started talking to me. It was Bob, Phil, Peggy, and I am there, that spot going, show your pretty face, Vladi. And me going with this internal crazy sweat explosion going, I can't even speak. I was too late to hit the leave Zoom room button and make an excuse on the internet. That was the best thing that happened to me. Because you know how people sometimes don't want to speak. You might not want to. You're sitting on all these webinars, podcasts. This is why I think people feel really comfortable with podcasts because they listen to people they resonate with, but they know they won't be pulled on a Zoom room. And you will have a different attention. You will pay different attention when your camera's on, or when you're sitting in there and it's a discussion. And when the host can actually pull you out and call you on or ask you a question, that's where we freak out because we don't trust ourselves. Going back to faith, the world faith. And sometimes, and when we were creating this name for a faith building podcast, we'd say, well, maybe people will think it's a religion. At the end of the day, it's faith and believe in you. Those little things you do. And they are so important because if you don't believe in yourself and others and God or the higher power, whatever you call it, or universe, that's where everything changes. So it's really important. And that freaky moment connected me to Norman and Jonah, we actually formed a group, studied for all these 7 years, meeting twice a week. It was one of the biggest growth we've done. And we talked about doing things together. But sometimes we rush things. I want it now. I always remember I love Queens. I'm my favorite band in the world. I think they're the best in the world, if you ask me. But like they do have a song say, I want it all, I want it all, I want it all, and I want it now. And that's how we are now in this world. We're rushing 1,000 miles an hour. People don't have a time to pause and stop and face the fears because they don't even recognize what their fears is. There's no moment of calmness and peace and stillness. And that is very, very, very connected to your network. That's the type of people you attract. So we go back to network is your net worth. But if there's a rushed person, not pausing and really thinking, how am I living my life? Can you actually honestly touch your heart and say, I love my life?
I love my life. Robbie Williams has a great song. I love my life.
My life, Robbie Williams. I listen to that.
I'm powerful, I'm beautiful, I'm me. The lyrics
Yes.
are amazing. It's like when you shared Queen and I want it all, I want it now. Yeah, that's the mentality nowadays, but we should rather go to Simon and Garfunkel and listen to the sound of silence. This would be the smarter way to reconnect to ourselves. Because right now, in this energetic time where so many things change energetically around the globe and so on, you realize that the more fearful you are, the more angry you are, the worse it gets. The only chance to survive this interesting time is self-love and really listening to silence and being yourself. And it's funny, while you spoke, I found another picture of the live event in Canada with the whole gang, where Phil is in and Trace is in and Peggy's in, and yeah, so many beautiful people. And this actually leads to our episode maybe 51 to 100, because we realized we have done a great job from our point of view for the first 50. And we want to change a couple things from time to time to make it more interesting for you, because we know a lot, but we don't know it all. So we would love to invite some mentors of ours, and we will throw those interview sessions in from time to time. Phil will be one of them. We mentioned Bob Proctor. We cannot interview him, but Vladi is very good with Brian Proctor, with one of his sons. So maybe Brian will give us the honor at one day. And we have our hands in 2-3 other ideas where we might want to invite them to come on our podcast and just share their idea of having faith and building more believe in yourself and self-esteem. And we also had another idea we really favor, Vladi, and we call it the hot seat. What's the hot seat all about?
That was the idea we loved always. And you know how slowly things fall together. We would love to invite you for a hot seat, because that is how I broke through this crazy, I don't know what it was, the story I just gave you about being pulled on a hot seat. It was like this, terror barrier. That is it. I broke through my terror barrier, and then it was just easier. There was like this wall fell apart, and then it was just slowly coming down. But it's the main terror barrier you face. Then everything gets better. And you improve going back to self-love and confidence, because you might not feel confident to speak, but if you're in a safe space and you feel that you can help, if you take away the attention from yourself, and that's what Bob taught us actually. He said, if you're speaking to people, just stop thinking about yourself. Do I look good? What if I say something wrong? What if my hands? Can you see? I speak with the hands. You cannot tell me. Yeah, like I cannot actually explain how many times I've asked Norman, because he's a professional speaker, what do I do with my hands? Because I keep talking. He said, just do it, because it's you.
Yeah, let them speak.
That is, yeah. So that's what you can do, and we encourage you. So we want to do a hot seat where you can ask us any questions. We come to these sessions pretty much unprepared. We just share what we know. And sometimes we look it up and tell you more, because, we don't always have everything available. So we would love you to join the sessions we will throw in. We will let you know how and when. And it will be on a Zoom. Will be extra. And you can ask us any questions on the spot. You can type it in a chat. Ideally, we'd like to hear you, sit you, maybe pull you out of the audience. If that scares you, come anyway. You don't have to come. You can have a muted, if you're not ready, you're not ready. I wasn't ready. But trust me, it was the best transformation point for me. And I wouldn't be where I am if they didn't do that to me. So I'm actually grateful, because sometimes we're so filled with the limitations and fear and worry and doubt about ourselves that we just don't take that step. And trust me, the first step is the hardest. Once you take the first step, it gets easier in every other way, especially when you're surrounded by really amazing people, because that is the key we're talking here about.
Absolutely. And be bold, be brave, because the question you might have, I'm quite sure, based on my own experience, and Vladi can admit, usually 10 other people have, and they just breathe out and say, oh, I'm so happy that he or she asked the question, so I'm off the hot seat. But your issues that you have, your problems, your questions are questions of the world. And it's similar with us. But sometimes, if you're in a constant study, you kind of forget what more the basic questions in everyday life is, because if you're only drawn to positive things, you forget about the news, you don't watch horror movies, you really build your own, let's call it positive zone. You're sometimes a little bit detached from the people's problems on the street. So if you should still be there on your way out, we are happy to answer those questions. We might make live calls, like live recordings. We record the next episode and pull you in, or read the question. We are not quite sure about that yet. Maybe we do a live event at one point. Just stay tuned about that. And a couple things we just want to throw in to make it more exciting for you and for us, because we all learn from each other. If you sometimes think, I'm just a beginner, nobody can learn something from me. Yes, even the professionals can learn from you. The attitude you have, the behavior you put on the plate, the things you think about or avoid. I mean, it's all up to us. We are all on this learning process called life. And sometimes we tend to forget stuff that we read about or we heard in podcasts or on live events. We cannot remember all. And very often also the two of us used it to do shelf development. Like we wrote stuff down, we put it on the shelf and we said, yeah, it's there, I know it. No, you don't know it. You don't know it by heart. You wrote it down. And this is another thing that I really liked and that got me thinking is the teachability index. And I think we spoke about it before. It's the two questions. It's your willingness to learn new things, which is number one, and your willingness to accept change. And the change part is so important, because even if your willingness to learn is up on a scale from 1, and 1 is not good, up to 10, 10 is great. If you say, I'm up to learn new things, I'm at a 10, I read books, I listen to podcasts, I do programs, I do one-on-one mentoring, I do all of that. The question is, are you open and up for change? Which means, do you take this in your life and start doing the work? And this is the unpleasant part. It's like Vladi shared with the hot seat. She got pulled out by life, or by Peggy, Bob, and Phil to the hot seat. And this is what happens sometimes. If you avoid the same thing over and over again, life will pull you through other people, because God will never touch down and pull you back by himself or herself or itself. No, you've been pulled by other people. They will pull you out of your comfort zone by force if they have to. If you avoid changing and going out of your comfort zone for a long time, can you just put your blue glasses on and say, it's for me, what pulls me out, or money you don't have on the account, or relationships that do not work, or business relationships that do not work, or fuss with your children, or the neighbor, or whoever. Can you just believe it's for me? Right now it feels it's all against me. But at the end of the day, if you connect the dots after quite a while and look back, you realize, probably it brought me more to the conclusion what I want to have and what I don't want to have anymore. And if we are just on a happy island of success, I mean, there's no more desire. There's just, you drag along and it gets boring and you get drawn to stupid stuff like drinking alcohol all the time or taking drugs, because life seems to be so boring. Nothing can excite you anymore. You need the next kick to excite you. So therefore, be open, be willing to change. And we are here, like Vladi said, usually we sit down, maybe one of us has a topic and says, oh, let's speak about goal achievement. And then we just go. We never know when the other passes the torch to take over and what he or she will say or ask. So that's another lesson that I learned and that we want to hand to you. Just be a good listener, because we've all been trained to be a good speaker. You need to speak up in school, at work, at private events. You need to speak. It's great. We learned that, how to speak. But nobody ever taught us how to listen. And we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So always use it in proportion. And you can train that. If you listen to someone, can you listen with your heart and not just sit there and think about your own plans and what you need to go grocery shopping for? Because then you don't need a conversation. If you're just minding your own thing and you're not really listening to the other person. And that's something we have to train every week, because if we don't pay attention, this podcast would fall apart in the middle of doing it. And therefore we love that intuition hits us, that we listen to each other, that we play the ball left and right, forth and back. And yeah, that's the purpose of the Faith Building podcast. And we love what we do.
Yes, and we're having fun.
Yes.
I want to speak to the change. When Norman said about the change, are you willing to change? I remember Bob Proctor, our mentor, who told us, people usually say, I don't like a change, but that's not true. People like the change, but they don't like being changed. And what usually happens, for us to actually make the change, we have to change. And people don't like changing. I'm going to throw something interesting at the end. I want to ask Norman, what is his favorite book out of these books we've studied? And I know this is like the hardest question, because when people want me to give them one book, I'm already having a 10 on the finger and contemplating which one of these 10 I'm going to mention. But if we just speak about this year, like what is the book that actually really is this year the number one book? And number one discipline, because obviously we lots of people ask us about what is it you do, guys, or what is the decision, but what is the number one book for you this year in 2025, and number one discipline in 2025?
The number one discipline to start at the end is to really watch my thoughts and my behaviors, like how I react to things from the outside, and just that I stop myself again and again and say, wait. They put their finger in your wound, which means something is hurt on my inside. We spoke about that before. And instead of just exploding, what can I learn? Because as long as I keep the open wound within me, everybody can put their finger on it and I will just scream because it hurts so much, rather than saying, what could I change within that the finger from without does not hurt anymore? And I think that's the discipline that I'm currently working on. About the book, I want to mention 2 books, because one book is my all-time favorite. It's Ernest Holmes' This Thing Called You. It's the book with the most highlights and the most stickers on the side. And yeah, there it is. And I very often
Connected, actually, isn't it funny? Yeah, it's the book we studied so long.
Yeah, and very often I take it and just open randomly a page and just read one of the highlights, and it's always the right thing I need in this moment. And my latest favorite book, and maybe you can answer and I get the book because it's right in front of the door. But
Yeah.
What's your biggest favorite book of the year, and what did you learn out of it?
I have to say, this year I've gone, it's for years I've been into like Power of Awareness, and I love by Neville Goddard. But I'm really in love with Out of This World by Neville Goddard. It's a very tiny book, as you can see. But that is something that I love to focus on a 4th and 5th dimension. So this really goes with it. And I take it everywhere. I've got it literally with lots of notes. Like I always say this, like I have to buy a new one because it's so scribbled. Oh, I love
Neville Goddard, the whole reader.
Yes, I love that one too. And my favorite discipline is really doing nothing. I've really practiced this for 20 months now. It's coming up to 20 months. But I'm sticking with an hour. Not every day, I will be very honest, but I never do less than half an hour. And I'd say 40 minutes. And I always aim for an hour, as often as I can. Doing nothing, just literally sit down, quiet your mind. I'm a huge fan of meditations and kind of sounds and frequencies. So often I do that with it, but this is like doing nothing. And I find the object. Usually during the summer, it's easy because I'm sitting outside paying attention to the leaves or something that moves. I like being in the nature. home, I usually pick something, and it's also like movements, or I look at, I just have this by myself, so I kind of sometimes like shake it and just keep watching. So I do find an object of attention and just lose the thoughts. And you will know that within like 15-20 minutes, actually, it only takes to quiet and calm your thinking and just be at peace. And I love what Norman said, because really, which I know it's second discipline, I only said one, but it's revision. You can revise and rewrite the scenes you played in your day, and you can write them exactly the way you want. Change it, tweak it, as you're a producer of your own movie, and you live your own movie. So not only you're a producer, you're actually the actor, and you're even the one who sits in a chair and watches it. So if you think about this cycle, just start projecting different movies if you want your life to change. Because if you keep playing the same scenes and the same stories, and I don't have enough money to do this, and I don't have enough education to do this, and we all get, if you're surrounded by the right people and just love what you do and focus on doing things great way and small things, do the small things in the great way, take the small steps in a grand, bold, brave way, because that will actually cause the quantum leap. It's not like these huge seagulls and massive visions and taking massive actions. It's actually the million of small actions properly done, connected to people, that actually will give you the result. But I'll hand it back to Norm. What was
I
that
totally
book?
agree. Just want to show you the book of this year, which is my all-time favorite. Your Wish is Your Command. Kevin Trudeau. It's brand new out of the press, and there's so much gold in there. It's amazing. And I just had an idea. First of all, I love the book so much. I want to give it away. How about that? We do what is it called, Vladi? A raffle? We
Yes,
say
Raffle.
December 31st, 2005. If you listen this podcast up to December 31st, and Vladi, maybe you can look up our email address that we have, that we can give in a second. If you want to have this book, Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau, which is my all-time favorite of this year, 2025, because I love it so much. We will give one away. So if you want to have it, Vladi will share our email address in a second. Just write us an email, say I want to be in the raffle. And in the beginning of next year, when we do our first podcast, or whenever I think I will come back from a cruise, we have to do it somewhere in between. We will find out a way. But we can do that live while we do the recording. So you see there's no cheating and whatever. We will pull numbers, and each and every email will get a number, and then we know who will win the book. Just an idea I had. So Vladi, what's our email address?
It's easy. It's faithbuildingpodcast@gmail.com. So it's basically
faithbuildingpodcast@gmail.com. That's quite easy. No dashes, no commas, no nothing. Faithbuildingpodcast in one word @gmail.com. Write us an email up to December 31st, midnight, and you're in for the raffle for this wonderful book. And that's then a late Christmas present from us, from you two beautiful people from the Faith Building Podcast. We hope you have enjoyed episode 50, which is very special because 50 is quite a number. So thank you for listening, for watching. Thank you for your lifetime that you share with us. We hope that we can bring some faith, some belief, some joy into your daily life or weekly life, as we are a weekly podcast. We wish you all the best. We look forward to episode 51. We will reach out now to possible guests that we would love to have as an extra inspiration and think about the hot seat and all the other things. Up to then, if you're listening to us on time, have a wonderful Christmas time, which is almost around the corner, a month to go. And yes, with that being said, any final word, sentence, idea from your side, Vladi?
I'm going to say thank you guys, many for you, because we wouldn't be if you didn't listen to us. I'm going to say thank you to Norman as well, because we're put up with each other with the joy and fun, but it is a work and it is preparing just to make it better for you guys. So really, I love this connection that we finally do what we love. I mean, we've always done it, but I'm talking about the podcast and improving, and we really would love to hear from you. So if there's any other suggestions you have, you can still use that email as well to let us know. And we really, really, really are grateful for you and all the beautiful comments, because we received many, and we love that we can help in any other way, and we can just maybe sometimes just give an idea to someone, because we receive ideas that really change our life. So if you are thinking about doing anything, don't postpone it, because my final sentence is procrastination and delay is a killer of success. It's not the knowledge, it's not the money, it's that postponing it until the uncertain day and never get it done. So thank you, and we will see you and hear you in episode 51.
Until then, all the best, and thanks to you, Vladi. Till
Yeah.
then, bye bye.